cloud. Okay. All right. So once again, we're going to talk about using our calipers. I think everybody got a chance to use these when they were cutting. If you haven't already, we will be doing that shortly. But for the purposes of this particular project, it's important that we also use ring sizers. And the reason that I like to use these is not because of the numbers, because, you know, I'm sure everybody knows that there's a system of numbers related to ring sizes, right? So if you're planning on doing this project, I think that you should like stop what you're doing, save what you're doing, and pay attention. Okay. So what you'll do is you'll use the ring sizers to measure your finger, right? You're going to try them on. I suggest most of you are probably going to be making a reasonably thick one. So we have a thick set, and we have a thin set too in the tool room. They're not in there right now, which means somebody borrowed them. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through these and you're going to find the one that fits. All right. So if I was making a ring for my index finger, that one's a little tight. You see, it can't get over my knuckle. Don't force it over your knuckle. Sometimes you may, and that one goes a little bit better. I think that's a 9. That's still a little tight for me. Let's see. And that's a 9.5. So that's probably pretty good. I would say my index finger is a 9.5. Now, the only reason that I'm keeping track of what that number says is so that I can go back and measure it with my calipers. There's no way to know. I mean, there are measurements that are considered a 9, a 9.5, an 8. As far as your interior diameter, that's what you're working with for your ring sizes, your interior diameter. But I think it's better to try it on this way and measure it with your calipers. So this way you have the measurement that fit on your finger. So remember, we keep this shut with our thumb, turn it on, and then we zero it out. Okay, it's 0. I'm opening it up. But I'm going to use the other end here. Remember, we were measuring the thickness of our acrylic with this, with the opening. But what we're going to do now is we're going to use the inside measurements. And we're going to open that up. And here I have 19.37 millimeters. I'm going to change that to inches, which is 0.762. Okay, I'm going to make a note of that number. 0.762. And now I'm going to go into Rhino. I'm going to make a circle. I'm going to start that circle in the middle of the at my origin point, which, as you may remember, is 0, 0, 0. Okay. And so since I measured the interior, that is my diameter and not my radius. Remember, sometimes circle starts with radius. So my diameter is going to be 0.762, right? That's what I had. All right. And there we go. I'm going to scroll in a little bit. I'm going to hold down shift, and there we are. So that is the size of my ring that is now in Rhino. So what I'm going to do here too is, where are my, gosh, what did I do? Hide my thingies, my layers and my little panels on the side here. I don't see them. Hang on, panels, layers. Okay. So here are my panels. I'm going to just like drop them on the side here. There we go. All right. So I'm going to make layer 5. I'm going to call this ring size reference. I'm going to say, remember, this is selected. I'm going to right click, change object layer. All right, so I know that that is there. So in order for me to start working on a ring that I want, I'm going to work with layer 1. I'm going to just call this my working ring layer. And so I've got this guy here. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go down, see where I have copy objects to layer. So I'm making a copy of this. So now I'm going to lock that ring size reference and hide it. So I know it's there. I'm not going to lose it. I'm not going to accidentally resize it. I'm not going to like, I'll be able to come back to it if I need it. But now this is where I'm going to work. I'm going to work with this. This is my interior of my ring. So another thing that I can do here is I can use my ring sizers again. And let's say I want my ring to be about this thick. These are actually a pretty good thickness. I wouldn't go any thinner than these. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to hit 0. Again, I am on inches again. And I'm going to just measure the thickness of one of these rings. Doesn't really matter which one. That's 0.064. Let's offset this curve by that amount. We're going to create another curve on the outside. Offset. And the distance I'm going to offset, right now it's set to 0.25. That's 1/4 inch. That's really thick. What did I say it was? 0.064. Okay, 0.064. Enter. Okay. And I'll click on the outside. And now there we are. So what I can do with this to create a really basic ring right now is I'll take this and I'm going to use that gumball trick that I keep telling you guys to try not to do accidentally. If you have gumball selected and you grab this little ball, it will extrude that as a, let's see, but just as surfaces. So you see I have an interior surface and I have an exterior surface. So it's not solid. I can't print this. I can't print this. I can't wear it. It's not real yet. So that is one thing that you can do if you just want to create the cert. So one other thing I can do is I can get rid of this outside surface. And I can take the I can create a duplicate of this. All right, so here in my perspective viewport, I'm at the bottom, right? I can grab this arrow, and as I pull the arrow up and I tap Alt, see that little plus sign that showed up? I'm going to put that up to here. And if I want to move it so that it exactly lines up with the top here, I'm going to turn on my center O snap. And I'm going to go move, M-O-V-E, oh, E, not 3, move. The point to move from is the center. I'm going to roll around the edge of this guy. And there's the center of that. And now I'm going to roll around the edge of the surface. And that's right there. See how it moved that curve exactly to the top. All right, I have two curves on the side here. I'm going to show you a really cool command that we haven't used yet, but you're going to use it soon. And let's escape though first. I want to take a control point curve. Click on that. I don't want center on because that's going to mess me up. I would like quad on. So I'm going to start on this curve here. And we should be able to see what we're doing here on each of these. Let me move this out of the way here. We're going to move my little zoom guy. I'm going to start on the quad. And over here, you can see what I've got going. I'm going to, this is kind of like the one in the example that I showed you in the presentation. Now I have a curve and it's attached to these two curves because I had my quad O snaps on. So now I'm going to use this really cool command called sweep to. And what it really stands for is sweep to rails. But I'm going to type in sweep to. Okay, choose sweep to. Select the first rail. That's this one. Select the second rail. I'm just following the command line. It's the bottom one. Now it says select sweep shapes. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to hit enter. And so what does it say? Do I want to make this a closed sweep? My goodness, that's something's really wrong there. It's not making a closed sweep. Does that help? No. Do not change cross sections. There we go. That's not right either. Hit escape. That's so odd. Got this and this. Did I hit something wrong? I may have hit the wrong. Let's try sweep 2 again. Select sweep shape. That should be this guy. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So now I made that. Now what I can do too is now I can take these 2 edges and I can use something called blend surface. Blend SRF. I'm going to select one edge. Oh, okay. Let's do the extrusion edge here. We'll start on the bottom. Now for the second edge, I'm going to click on chain edges because the way it built it, it may have several sections. See here, I'm going to hit enter. And now you can see it builds this nice little curve. I can actually play with these sliders. Now let's look at it here in the front and the side. I can play with these sliders a little bit to mess with the tangency, how they work with one another. Let's just go here. That looks good. I'm going to hit enter. And there we go. Now that is a surface. This is a surface. And the interior is also a surface. And remember that interior, we haven't resized that. We just extruded it into a surface. You don't want to mess with the interior because that's your ring size. That's that measurement that we measured off of these actual ring sizers. So let's blend surface on the bottom real quick. We're going to right click. That'll bring up the thing, first edge. Because that one was an extrusion, it's really simple, so it won't need to be chained. But we are going to make sure we chain edges for the second one. Oop, not that one. None. That's what I want. These guys here. We're going to hit enter. And again, let's just leave it where it is. That looks nice. Okay, so now I should have 4 surfaces. 1, 2, 3. And then the interior is another surface. 4. I'm going to hit join. And it says here, we could look up in the history up top. 4 surfaces or poly surfaces joined into one closed poly surface. Okay, this now is printable. At least I think it is. One of the things that we'll do before we send anything to the printer is we're going to check the edges. I'm going to use a command called show edges. And what this edge analysis does is I'm going to change the pink color. It shows me all the edges that it has. And if it has naked edges, and this, of course, I can see over here up in my history, it says 17 edges total, no naked edges, no non-manifold edges. This is what we care about, naked edges and non-manifold edges. Those mean it's not printable, or it will give the printer difficulties. Non-manifolds, sometimes they're okay, but we don't really want to risk it by sending a non-manifold edge to the printer. Yes? A non-manifold edge means that there might be more than one edge in one spot. Like in a corner, like you have two surfaces come together in a corner. Maybe the way that you built it, there's actually another edge inside. And it'll find that if it's, and it'll probably show as a naked edge as well. But a non-manifold edge means that they're not all totally connecting together. So this is just the beginning of one way that you can build a ring. I'm going to show you probably a different demo every class for the next couple of weeks about different ways to build a ring. Because you're starting to now, in the exercises, get to the points that you've done a rail revolve, or you've done regular revolve too. We could have used a revolve to create this outside surface instead of sweep 2. There's more fun things that we can do with sweep 2 that you can't do with revolve. So I'll get into those as well. We'll also be able to use sub D. Sub D is a really fun way to build things as well. Where are we at on time? We're at like 12:50. So any questions about what I've showed you so far? No. So what I would suggest is that you start thinking about what you want your ring to look like. What you want to, you can start sketching a little bit on paper, but I want you guys to get into Rhino as soon as possible. And if you want to start in Rhino, all the more better. Okay. Now, one of the things that you saw in there was the sprues. We'll create sprues in Rhino. That's easy. You know, we can do that quickly with, you know, with a line. We can use a pipe. Okay, the radius, we certainly don't want that to be 1. Maybe we'll make that 0.15. Oh no, wait, we don't want that as a radius. We want that as a diameter. And let's go with 0.15. There we go. And so there's a sprue right there. You can see, and then there would be other sprues. Sometimes we put the sprue like straight through the middle of the ring. And whoop, somebody's printing stuff. And then that way, when the metal flows in, it'll flow along the sides and into the end. Maybe not the best strategy for this particular ring. And you can see that I have the sprue sticking out a little bit too. We don't want that. Let's go here. But so that's just the beginnings of stuff. So I'm going to save this in my folder up in the metals server, up, metals. Okay, remember the login, metals, tab, CAD, CAM. All right, CAD 1, right here. Intro to 3D modeling. I'm gonna put this here, and I'm gonna call this ring demo 1. Oop. Let's spell ring right, huh? Okay, save that as a Rhino 7. Okay, all right, I'm gonna stop this now unless anybody has any questions I should add to this. Nothing? Okay, I will save this. It'll be in your Zoom demos reference in Canvas. So let's go to record and stop.